Every little piece, every little piece. We could make $1 million by slicing him, dicing him. Hoagie we could sell, every little shell. There's enough of him to go around. Money, money, money by the pound.
See, now I'll be 110% lying if I said there was actually an end goal to this video, because there isn't. The overall sketch of this video is that this game, Escape Dead Island, confused me so much I didn't even know what to make of it. Seriously, I didn't complete it. It was just so bizarre. But it really got me thinking about one thing. Franchises really should play to their strengths, and Dead Island, for example, just is one that just didn't do it when it should have done. Anyway, let's just jump into this video and feel free to listen to me mumble for as long as this video is. Hello ladies and gentlemen. So to talk about Escape Dead Island, you really have to go back to 2011 when the first Dead Island game first came out, and when people finally got their hands on Dead Island, it kind of got overthrown with mediocre reviews, and everyone kind of felt kind of lied to due to the trailers actually advertising it more as a human-based zombie game, telling a rich story and making it look a little bit more gritty and a little bit more heart-hitting. But instead we were left with ugly AI, terrible voice acting, a story that really went nowhere and was really uninteresting, but at the same time an experience that people seem to remember. And with all its massive flaws and everyone putting this game down in the dirt, it seemed to have been a massive success. There seems to have been a niche audience that really loved this game. The online community in this game was really thriving for a long time, and even in the sequel Riptide, which was seen as just a copy and paste game which did nothing more than try and fix a few errors here and there, it was still a thriving community. And the Dead Island community is actually still there. Playing the first game and going back to it, people are still playing this game for some reason. Riptide overall felt like a money grabbing piece of shit, and that's exactly what it was. It was nothing more than to cash in on the success of its previous successor. But then what happened with Techland? They decided to take a little break and go back to the drawing board with overall games and actually create Dying Light, which I actually spoke about in one of my previous videos, and this game was very successful, and it was something that really should have been Dead Island in the first place. But then, where was Dead Island left? And here comes playing it safe. Playing it safe is really something that everybody does. In any industry, no matter what, it's playing to your strengths and it's playing to something that everybody enjoys, especially from you personally. And with Techland, they didn't really go out of their way to change up any formula from Dead Island. Dying Light was practically still a Dead Island game, just with a few more tweaks here and there and parkour, of course. But then the Dead Island series should have played to its strengths as well. It should have really played to what the community enjoyed, and that would be a multiplayer thriving game with killing zombies and having a real blast. But clearly Dying Light already had this covered, so what would Dead Island actually be? Well, the sequel itself, Dead Island 2, looked like to be a lot more colourful and a lot more happier, and it was actually advertised quite early on in 2014. And it just didn't come out. I don't know what happened, it hit development hell. A lot of developers just had to change its story and how it was going, and overall the game sort of seems like it's maybe cancelled and isn't going to be released. But they also released a bunch of games to advertise Dead Island 2 which hasn't been seen. So for example, you got Dead Island Retro Revenge, which is just an 8-bit classic where you play as like a Jack Black-esque character who is actually featured at the end of the Dead Island 2 trailer. And this was just to advertise the new lighter tone that Dead Island 2 was clearly going to go for, and the setting that it was going to set in. Of course, it was going to be nothing like this game. This game takes place, I don't know fucking where, but it's really strange and it's an odd experience, but hey, it's just a clever way of teasing your game that should be coming out soon. And then you got the other game, Escape Dead Island. In Escape Dead Island, you play as a freelance photographer who's going on an island with his friend to investigate what the hell is going on there. Let's investigate, understand why the zombies are there. And something you may actually notice about this game straight away is, yes, it's cel shaded, yeah, it's third person, and it doesn't even focus on being a first person hack and slash. This time it's actually a stealth based beat 'em up style game. It's really peculiar. I mean, the gameplay itself overall is fucking awful. Like, this game is terrible. I'm not going to defend it in any way and say that they tried to do anything innovating or anything, because no, it's a pretty bland hack and slash and there isn't really much to be expected here. But they tried something very interesting, and that's with its story. This game actually decides to go for more of a psychological horror route, where some things happen in this game that make you actually kind of think, what is going on here? There is some really deep reality bending moments which really confuse the player, and it confused the hell out of me, and this is the one part of the game that really keeps you connected. It's It's a really cool idea just to see you walking around and then all of a sudden cargo crates start raining from the skies with zombies and things start growing out of the ground and your character is just as confused. And we're confused as well because nothing like this has been seen in any other Dead Island game before. So why is this all of a sudden here? What is the answers? You really want to know. And seriously, this keeps you really intact with the game and its story and what it really wants to offer you. It's just a shame that its gameplay is just so poor and so bland. It really doesn't want you to play. You're like, no, I don't want to play this. It's fucking boring. There's not much here to offer. It's so slow paced. All the levels and everything is just so bland. It's just missing something. But its story itself has a serious level of interest that really kept me connected. Unfortunately, though, I'm not going to finish it because the gameplay otherwise is just sort of nah. And this is possibly what killed Dead Island, because this game actually requires you to play it to play Dead Island 2 and actually understand the story. It completely divided the fans completely. The fact that it was released on previous gen, so at the time this game came out in 2014, a year after the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 had already been out. So think about that. And it seemed to have missed a complete opportunity that it has. The Dead Island franchise has a massive fan base and community, so why would you make something so wildly different than all the previous games? Why would you actually work against the strengths and everything that you've built just to try and make yourself look a little bit more different and individual? Game companies for years have been working towards their strengths. Even game companies have been discovering their strengths. Look at companies just like Bethesda. A lot of their games have been very similar since the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Some could even argue Morrowind, but I think Oblivion is where it really all started. Their games seem to lay out exactly the same, though every now and then you may get a different one that they only published rather than developed. So every now and then you're going to get your Fallout 3, your Elder Scrolls Skyrim, and your Fallout 4s, and even Fallout 76, which has widely done a big change from what they usually used to, and that's kind of bombshelled. But then look at more famous companies like Rockstar. Of course, Rockstar, ever since 2006 when they released their table tennis game on Xbox 360, does anyone remember that? That game was strange, but it also was the first game that actually used their Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, which has been the same engine that they've used ever since that game, and they've used it in GTA 4, LA Noire, Red Dead Redemption, Max Payne 3, GTA 5, and even the new Red Dead Redemption 2. They've used this same engine and the same mechanics ever since then, and it hasn't even changed that much. Yes, of course, I understand there's been massive graphical changes, and here and there they have new gimmicks and new features that you can do within the game world, but overall their games lay out exactly the same, and it actually has started to show a few cracks and actually become a little bit more outdated in recent years. Overall, Rockstar were just playing to their specialties. They're just playing it to their strengths, and they were just keeping it safe. They were doing what they know best. They know that they can sell games just by keeping it like this. The community of their games have been huge. Though playing it safe sometimes isn't the best bet. There are some companies out there which are just known for doing very different games every time. Think about Nintendo, for example. Though yes, their games are very gimmicky and a lot of the games are kind of the same, they can get away with selling you a Breath of the Wild compared to a Wind Waker, or selling you a Mario Odyssey compared to a Mario Party. They can do very different things, but as long as they use their icons and characters. Therefore, that's in the same boat of keeping it safe, but they're allowed to experiment a little bit more with these characters and stretch out their legacy. But then you get game companies like EA, for example, with their Battlefield or Battlefront, and they just want to keep it too safe to the stage that people start complaining that the games don't ever change. Think about Call of Duty. For years now, I can argue that Call of Duty's just been the same game for years with just a new lick of paint over it, and people even compare Assassin's Creed into these books, even though I kind of feel like Assassin's Creed is a completely different game on itself, because a lot of games, though Assassin's Creed is very, very similar, they really did take a leap of faith. Odyssey and Origins completely put a new spin on the entire formula of Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed for me has always been about that cinematic experience the life of a character learning to become something that he was always destined to be. And yes, they do keep this sort of plot in these two games. In my opinion, is probably the weakest part of the whole series, is that the stories are not all that great. The gameplay overall and everything you know about the world of Assassin's Creed is all of a sudden turned on its head and changed into an actual RPG. Especially this shows more into Odyssey, where you're able to have actual full dialogue bars and actually choose what you're going to say, and it also plays out in the story and can change events deciding on what you actually do. And I think that's a really interesting idea to do for Assassin's Creed, and it really gives it a full spin. So full credits for Ubisoft for kind of taking it back to the drawing board and learning from their mistakes. And once again, we're not going to actually get a new Assassin's Creed game in 2019, so I'm curious to see where they go with the series next. But hey, playing it safe isn't even just present in the video game industry. Think about the movie industry, and for example, think about a genre also like horror. The slasher movie genre is also known for creating great iconic characters such as Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Ghostface, Leatherface, and even my personal favourite Chucky, who is probably in my opinion most important one out of all these characters, though not the most iconic. What all these slasher movies did is really create a statement and create a form of entertainment that a lot of people really love. Though yes, it is parodized in every single form, a lot of people say it's just a weak way to tell a horror story. These different films all created a genre that everybody can just sit down and enjoy. Have a bunch of teenagers who are all horny and just want to have sex, obviously learn about a mystery and then all die in cool and gruesome ways. And slowly, time after time, we see it in all these movies, they all start to begin to focus on the villain. Though yes, they are the villains of that movie, in theory Jason Voorhees or even Freddy Krueger becomes the main character, becomes the person you want to see, and that's something they do every single time. And Chucky itself really took full advantage of this and really played it to its strengths. Child Play took the slasher formula and kind of turned it on its head. It made Crystal Lake or Elm Street a lot more relatable and a lot more realistic. What if he was inside your house, just inside your flat apartment, your everyday flat apartment? What if he could get to you through that? And then they also immediately just made his character a loudmouth, crude, unlikable little shit, which everyone loves. Everyone seems to love a villain, and that is true. No matter what you do, you're gonna love the bad guy because they're just fun, especially someone with the charisma of Chucky, who can make a joke out of every single scene and work so well to his strengths that he can immediately turn a poor movie into an entertaining movie because you could just watch him go off on one and kill people. By the end of Child's Play 3, though the focus of the main character was still Andy, the child who was trying to escape Chucky, they really focused a lot more on Chucky's character, and a lot more of the scenes focused on him getting through his day to day and how he's going to get to Andy. And then they really realised that maybe they should focus it all entirely on Chucky, so not being called Child's Play anymore, but just straight up call the film the Chucky series. And it's what it's about. It's about Chucky, the killer doll. What does he get up to in his day-to-day life when he isn't dead? He's being a pain in the arse and obviously kidnapping people and killing people and trying to steal their souls. That's just what he does. He's a fun character and people really enjoy his kills. They never really took away. Even in 2017 when they released The Cult of Chucky, people were still enjoying these movies. The fact you're able to still keep the same original cast member who did the voice of Chucky in the first movie and still go on and actually continue his legacy, that's very impressive. The fact that fans are still devoted to see this character. But then all of a sudden they made the most stupid mistake I've ever seen in any movie franchise ever, and that's to stop playing to your strengths. So what if we got rid of the loudmouth cocky doll who's from Jersey and then put him in a woman's body? And then all of a sudden stop him being this doll and now become a woman? What? See, now I'm not going to be the person to complain about Chucky having a sex change because, well, you know. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Chucky being a woman all of a sudden. I'm not saying that in any case at all. I'm just saying it's really peculiar to have such a powerful, strong, connected character and throw it out of the window. Though, of course, I imagine they're going to continue the Chucky series. They said that the series isn't over and they're planning to actually turn it into a TV series or maybe a Netflix show, which will actually continue with Brad Dourif doing the voice of Chucky, which is really cool. And I really hope this vocalizes what people really enjoyed from the films and they really focus on Chucky and actually give it the whole entire life back that it really deserves. Because if it wasn't for the 2017 movie, I feel like this series would still be going strong. And we are actually expecting a new updated, rebooted version of Child's Play, which is actually going to go back to more of a horror movie. And a ride that isn't actually going to work towards the strengths of what made Child's Play as great as it is, because overall Child's Play was charming and fun because of Chucky. Hopefully it isn't just going to make it all miserable and trying to be over the top scary, because overall a doll isn't that scary, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, you can't make Child's Play creepy anymore because Brad Dourif already owned the role and made the doll so iconic and so fun. What I'm trying to say is we know what we like. If there's some sort of entertainment that we're really digging, people will really go for it and spend their money on it and show it with their wallets. And big companies will take this in mind. So let's just be thankful that Assassin's Creed or the next Purge isn't all of a sudden going down a strange rabbit hole where it completely forgets the identity of what made it charming in the first place. And this is what's happened with Dead Island. It's just completely gone lost. It had a big strong community and now all of a sudden it's just a forgotten relic that is eventually going to get a sequel but no one knows when. And for every Assassin's Creed out there or next Call of Duty, just remember that though yes, those games seem to have unimaginative ideas and sequels, at least they don't take this strange road. Think about Halo 5 for example. Halo is probably one of the most important first person shooting franchises of all time and probably has one of the biggest online communities that there is. Halo has a massive legacy that it lived up to, but all it took was one game to really show that this franchise is dying of ideas and they really didn't know what to do with it. It shows that 343 Industries really felt like they was running into the wrong direction, rather than following Bungie's simple approach of making every game almost the same, but of course just updating it and giving the fans what they want. The moment that Halo 5 introduced a revive mechanic and showed that there was no more split screen, for me showed that the franchise itself just lost all heart and all meaning of what it really was. And hopefully with the new trailer coming out for the new Halo game, it shows that they're probably going back to heart and they're really looking back into what made Halo great. Though most games these days, yes of course they just run of the mill and follow whatever their predecessor did, let's just be thankful that not many of them change so wildly that we end up hating what we once loved. If there's companies out there that can prove that you can change a whole entire gameplay style and still show the essence, all you have to do is look at Capcom. Think about Resident Evil. Resident Evil's strength has now all of a sudden become to change itself so wildly and surprise the player. Each time it iterates itself with a new type of gameplay mechanics, keeps the fans involved, it keeps them interested. Yes, Resident Evil 4 was a big change and it turned out to be a massive success, and then they played on the success of that until it ran dry, and then all of a sudden they went back to roots with Resident Evil 7, though changing it up by making it a first person shooter, that all of a sudden relit the charm that Resident Evil once had. And now we're getting Resident Evil 2 remake, which I'm so excited for, but it's going back to the Resident Evil 4 camera angles and success, and it's playing to the strength of what Resident Evil fans want. It proves that the strength of a game doesn't have to rely on its gameplay, but instead that the atmosphere and the tension and the overall feeling that the game gives you. The fact that it can feel extremely claustrophobic but entirely have a completely different gameplay shows that you maybe don't have to stick to exactly what you know, but at least stick to what the fans enjoy and what the fans love, and that's exactly what Dead Island seemed to have forgot, and imagine that they didn't even catch her in the first place. The first Dead Island game was a bit of a train wreck that seemed to have worked out really well. Of course the train now has just completely been destroyed and no one knows what they want from the game series, not even me. And is there some light to come out of this video? It's the fact that Escape Dead Island was so fucking shit that I just spent a few fucking minutes talking out my fucking ass. Like I said, this video really had no end goal, and this game just hands down confused me. It confused me why Deep Silver would all of a sudden take one of the strongest and maybe one of the games that they're most known for and just throw it straight down the bin. Yes, they claim that Dead Island 2 is still being made, but we're yet to see anything and we're just left with that. I know I went into a bit of a rambling there when I was talking about the Chucky series or whatsoever, but I just kind of had to sort of prove that it wasn't just the video game industry that does these weird choices that sort of destroy a whole entire franchise, or even destroy a golden idea that someone actually has. But if you enjoyed this video, please of course leave a like, it's entirely down to you. Feel free to share it about, feel free to subscribe for more videos just like this every single week. I just keep popping these things out like I have babies. Currently working on another video very shortly, so you will be seeing that soon. And of course, as always, I will see you at the next checkpoint.